Hello, my name is Tara Higgins. I'm a partner technical consultant focused on Dynamics GP. I'll be introducing the new features released in Dynamics GP 2015 for the features that are in the Financials and Distribution series. For our agenda today, we're going to take a look at the features added to the Financial series, Distribution series, Web Client. We're going to touch on Workflow 2.0 and Project Expense. Here is a list of new features added to Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015 in the Financial series. Not all of these features will be covered in this video. There will be a separate recording to learn all about the new workflows in GP 2015 that builds onto the workflow system added to GP 2013 R2. There is also a business intelligence that will be covered refreshable Excel reports in SmartList Designer, and navigation to Management Reporter right within GP. There will also be a system-wide video. So let's take a look at the new financials features. Have you ever closed your year for fixed assets and wished there was a report that would automatically print? In Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015, Fixed Assets, we've added an optional report to the Fixed Assets year-end closing routine. Now, in a single step, you can close your year and print a status report of all your assets that are being affected by the close. On the report, you'll see the year-to-date depreciation, cost basis, accumulated depreciation, net book, and more. Each book will be grouped on the report, and the current fiscal year for that book will be displayed under the book heading. When the book is printed, all the assets in that book will print in the Asset ID order. In Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015, one of the improvements to intercompany functionality is the ability to view the intercompany distributions of a journal entry from another company. The Intercompany Journal Entry inquiry window is added, allowing the users to see the destination company entries from the originating company and the originating company entries from the destination company. Having the Intercompany Journal Entry inquiry window eliminates the need for users to switch between companies to view all the originating and destination company distributions of an intercompany journal entry. All the distributions can be viewed from one company. Also, users will have the ability to void an intercompany journal entry, including entries posted in the destination companies, by voiding the original entry in the originating company. This eliminates the need to void an entry in both the originating company and individually in each destination company as a separate step. When the user voids the entry in the originating company, intercompany entries are also created automatically in destination companies to void the original intercompany entries. Let's take a look at this feature in action. So this is Dynamics GP 2015, and for example, let's say I'm a user that's responsible for reviewing transactions that occur between companies set up in the same GP instance. In Fabricam company in GP, let's say I review detailed trial balance reports for the due to Contoso account to verify the balance due to the other company. I'm wanting to verify one of the journal entries on the report, so I need to open up the Journal Entry Inquiry window, and that's found under the Financials area and Journal Entry Inquiry. From here, I can take a look at my journal entry that I wanted to look at more detail on, and here I can see the accounts, and then I can also click the Intercompany, and I can see the accounts that this is set to the Contoso company, and then I can also see that the source document was a Payables transaction. I can drill back and I can even take a look at more information on here. After taking a look at this additional information, this transaction needs to be voided. So let's take a look at voiding the intercompany transaction. Because the journal entry originated in Payables Management in Fabricam, and the invoice is unpaid in an open status, and the destination company is Contoso, we're going to go to Void Open Payables Transaction window. So let's select the vendor, the test vendor. And from here we can click void. And this says the transaction was originally marked as an intercompany transaction. The void transaction will also be created in the other companies as well. So I'm going to click void. Print it to screen. Here's the report that prints off after I voided. And from here I can see that it was marked as an intercompany transaction and a void will be created in the other companies. Because I voided the transaction in Payables Management, an invoice record is voided, and then the journal entry is created with the PMVVR batch in the general ledger. So let's go take a look at that batch. So under Transactions, Batches, here's that PMVVR, and I can print my report. And here's my transaction that was voided. So I'm going to post this and it will flow over to the other Contoso company. So now let's go over to the Contoso company and take a look. So now I'm logged into Contoso and let's go take a look at the batch. I can see now here's my transaction. And from here I can post. In Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015, you now have the greater flexibility to configure payment terms for the transaction due date. A new selection was added to calculate the transaction due date from the transaction date or from the discount date. Additional calculation options like annual or month date and being able to add days or months to the calculation gives you greater flexibility when setting up your payment terms. The ability to calculate an example when you are creating the payment terms gives you greater flexibility and quicker verification of the option you want. Let's take a look at this feature in action. In payment terms in GP 2015, let's take a look at an example. We want to create a payment term for an invoice due 5 days after the end of the month that is 60 days out with no discount. So in Microsoft Dynamics GP, Tools, Setup, Company, and Payment Terms. So we'll create one saying 60 end of month plus 5. So I'm going to do my transaction date 60 days out, due at the end of the month, and then I want additional 5 days. And there's no discount, so I'll set that to none, and we'll hit save. So let's take a look at that in a transaction. So I'm going to grab my test vendor and grab my 60-day end of month. And I can take a look at the transaction. So from here, the due date, so 60 days out would be October 31st plus 5 days, so that would be the 5th. And then also if there was a discount, it would be on the 14th, but there is no discount. However, with the new system, there is also the capability of taking a look at that calculate feature inside of the payment terms window, so you wouldn't have to enter in a transaction to see how it would work. So let's grab it from here and we'll take a look at that as well. So I can click the calculate button, and from here I can also see for my transaction date, if it was today's date on here, it also shows us the same results that we were in the transaction entry window. This slide shows the new features added to GP 2015 that are in the distribution series. A new warning message has been added to the payable transaction entry form to prompt the end user if they attempt to post or save an invoice for a vendor that already has an available purchase order in the application. This new functionality will be disabled by default on upgrades, but can be enabled by selecting the Warn If Vendor Has Existing Purchase Order checkbox on the Payables Management Setup window. For new installs, the functionality will be enabled by default. Let's take a look at this feature in action. Let's look at the Payables Setup window. In Payables Management Setup, there is a new option that was created, Warn If Vendor Has Existing Purchase Order. We can also print the report and see that it has been added to the report. Because I have it enabled, it shows an X in front of it. This setting is based on per company, and only users that have access to this window would be able to see these options. So now let's open up the transaction entry window for payables. In here, we'll enter in a transaction and we'll save it to a batch. The vendor I'm going to select is a travel company. Enter in a document number, and I'm going to enter an amount. When I click Save, the message will be prompted, the vendor has an existing purchase order. If I choose Continue, it will post or save depending on what option I selected. In this case, I selected to save, but if I was posting, it would do that option. If I choose to go to, it will close this window, delete the transaction, and go to the purchase navigation list. If I choose to cancel, it will return me to the window. So I'm going to click Continue, and now it's saved it to the batch. In Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015, when you want to send an email for a historical document, you can add additional email addresses and choose which email addresses you wish to send to. On the navigation list, you can mark a group of historical documents and email them to different email addresses. If a customer wants a copy of a number of invoices, you can mark them and email them to the specific addresses. Edit email detail is available for receivable statements, sales order transactions, purchase orders, and payables remittances. The functionality will be added to the following locations for historical documents only: Sales Inquiry Zoom, All Sales Transactions Navigation List, Purchasing Inquiry Zoom, All Purchasing Transactions Navigation List. This feature is also available if an email address has not been previously entered in the to, CC, or BCC. The button is not displayed if the document that is zoomed on is not historical. The button is also not displayed if the email is not enabled for the company. So with the ability to email documents to a customer or vendor, often there's a need to send an email a second time, but this can raise an issue. What if the original contact at the customer vendor is no longer at the company? How do you correct the email address to send it to the customer and track the addresses the document was mailed to? Well, in GP 2015, there's new functionality for historical documents. So in the Sales Inquiry Zoom or All Sales Transaction Navigation List, the Purchasing Inquiry Zoom, and All Purchasing Transaction Navigation List, you'll be able to email the document again. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to go to Sales, All Sales Transactions, and then I'm going to click on one of my sales invoices. And from here, I can click on Send an Email, and I can do Send to, and I can add another email in here. And I can click Send. I can see that it was completed, and it's succeeded, and then here's my email address. It came up already. Also, if I wanted to, I can drill back and click on the email, and I can see now the administrator was added to the Send to. Dynamics GP Web Client supports all the widely used features available in the desktop client. We deliberately didn't include certain redundant or rarely used features in order to make the application light and mobile friendly. Examples of features not included are the advanced financial analysis and multi-dimensional analysis. With Invoicing module now available in the web client, this is a screenshot of what the entry window would look like. Here is a list of expanded workflows to help streamline financial, purchasing, sales, payroll, and project expense related approvals. These new native workflows enable customers to quickly customize their solution and accelerate their business approvals. Another feature to GP 2015 is Project Employee Expense Report Entry. Project accounting employees can create expense reports for any projects to which they are assigned. Employees can also be set up to allow delegates to enter expense reports on their behalf. Workflow approvals and tasks assignments are defined for expense reports. Workflow actions are executed on the document from the expense entry window or from the navigation lists. Thank you for watching the video. Till next time.